Hey, what's up everybody? We are back today doing a video about who will play you with games of Gwent out in Novigrad, the continent, and Novigrad city proper, Oxenford, etc., etc. In the Velen video for tracking down all of the traders that you could purchase Gwent cards from, I put some information in the video description to show you all the people in Velen that you could play for additional Gwent cards. I was going to do that with the Novigrad video, however, there are just so many of them, and some of them really are hard to track down. So I figured I would put together a video. I will try to keep this as quick as possible and just dart through all of these guys and tell you where they are, what their deck is, and that's it. So hopefully this will help you track them all down. You can pick up some extra cards. The first one is going to be out here in Oxenford. There is a vendor right here just near the Oxenford Harbor. Here he is. You've probably seen him before. We'll be back with the next one in just a sec. Alright, our next stop is the Armorer here in Oxenford. He is right here, just next to the notice board. When you play him, he is rocking a Scoia'tael deck. We'll be back with the next stop in just a sec. Alright, the next person you're going to find out in Oxenford is a blacksmith. He stands right here, right where I've got my cursor at. He rocks a monster deck, and we'll be back with our next one in just a sec. Alright, next stop is just outside the village, or the city of Oxenford. We are north here at the Herbalist's Hut landmark. It is just north of the Novigrad gate here in Oxenford City. Head up in here and speak to him, and you'll find that he will want to play you Gwent, and he is rocking a Scoia'tael deck. We'll be back with our next stop in just a moment. Alright, next stop is out at the Seven Cats Inn. Right here. Head inside, you'll find the Innkeeper, and she will play you with a Northern Realms deck. Next stop coming up in a sec. Alright, our next step is out at the Cunny of the Goose, which is located right here. Go inside, play the Innkeep, and he is rocking a Scoia'tael deck. We will be back with our next stop in just a sec. Alright, our next stop is just north of the city of Novigrad. It's outside the Novigrad Gate signpost, which is right here. Here's Hierarch Square. And there's this little house up here, and if you get close to it, you may or may not see an alchemy supplies vendor. Inside, you will find this guy. Talk to him, and he will sell you some alchemy supplies. He'll also play you in Gwent. However, there's a caveat with this guy. The first time you run into him, I suggest you play him, because I ran into him, left, did a bunch of quests, wound up coming back, and he would no longer sell me anything, nor would he talk to me and play me Gwent. So I don't know what caused that to happen, but I can tell you that there is something that you can do through questing or whatever, which will make him unavailable to speak to you again. So make sure when you run into him, you do chat him up and play Gwent with him the first time you see him, just to avoid losing him later in the game. When you come back, he'll still be here. He just won't talk to you. So that's it. We're on to our next location in just a sec. Alright, our next stop is out in Novigrad City proper. We are out near the Elector Square landmark. And here, during the day, you will find a fake priest of the Eternal Fire standing between these two rows of little pine trees or whatever they are. If you talk to him, he's going to give you some bullshit about a password or whatever. Go through a little bit of a conversation with him. You determine that he's a fake priest, and eventually he'll open up as a vendor that will sell you stuff and also want to play cards. So he plays with he's a Nilfgaardian Empire deck, so just be aware of that, and he does have a lot of spies. So we'll be back with our next stop in just a sec. Alright, our next stop is out in Novigrad City proper at a loan shark that you will find inside a building just southwest of Oxenford Gate. He does have a shopkeeper map marker, so he should be easy to find. He's right here. He does rock a monster deck. So we'll be back with our next one in just a moment. Alright, our next stop is the merchant that is just across the street from the loan shark we were just at. He's right here inside Novigrad City. and he is playing a Northern Realms deck. So we'll be back with our next stop in just a sec. Alright, our next stop brings us to the Innkeep at the Nowhere Inn. The inn is located west of Oxenford Gate Landmark. It is right here. There is a marker on your map, and she rocks a very weak Nilfgaard deck. So we'll be back with our next stop in just a sec. Alright, our next stop is the Merchant just southeast of the St. Gregory's Bridge Landmark. He is just north of the Barber, and he is west of the notice board. He's inside a shop. The only thing to note about him is he does rock the Nilfgaardian commander that invalidates the special ability of all other commanders. So watch out for that. We'll be back with our next stop in just a moment. Alright, our next stop in the city of Novigrad is at this blacksmith here. He is right here, and that would be northwest of Hierarch Square. The only thing to note about him is that he's rocking a Nilfgaard deck, and he does roll with the dragon that has the Scorch ability. So adjust your play accordingly for that, and we'll be back with the next stop in just a moment. Alright, we're back and in Novigrad City proper, and we are at a merchant that is right across the street from the blacksmith that we were just at. This merchant you actually run into out in an alleyway somewhere. There are some thugs that are hassling him. You drive them off, and then he is available. He rocks a Scoia'tael deck, and it's a strong Scoia'tael deck, so don't fuck around with him. Go for the win, whatever way you have to. I played 3 rounds with him, and only won 2 out of the 3. I'm usually pretty good against Scoia'tael decks, but each time it was definitely a challenge. So be aware, and we'll be back with our next section in just a sec. Alright, our next stop out in Novigrad City is this merchant right here. He is a fish merchant, and he is the guy in the blue turban over my left shoulder. So play him, and he is a monster deck. Careful with his monster deck. He has some nasty heroes he can draw into. So just FYI, it's a semi-strong monster deck. He's got all the muster cards that you would expect, and he's got some nasty heroes. So we'll be back with our next one in just a sec. Alright, we're back with our next location. This time we are at the Golden Sturgeon Inn. This inn is located right here, just north and west of the notice board. If you come over here, talk to the innkeeper, he will play you, and he's got a Scoia'tael deck. Nothing particularly special about it, and we'll move on to our next location in just a sec. Alright, we're back, and our next stop brings us to this merchant right down here. He is just south and a bit east of the notice board that is near Hierarch Square. So here's Hierarch Square, notice board, merchant. He plays a Nilfgaardian deck, and there's nothing particularly special about him either or his deck. We'll be back with our next location in just a moment. Alright, we're at our next location. This is a blacksmith that is just across the way from the vendor that we were just at. He's right over here. He rocks a monster deck. It's pretty much the standard monster deck that you've seen with a bunch of musters and pretty much the higher level heroes from the monster deck. So nothing too out of the ordinary there. That's it, and we'll get on to our next location in just a sec. Alright, we are back with our next location. This one is a merchant that is located just north of Tredegar Gate, across the bridge, and you'll find him right here. He runs a Nilfgaardian Empire deck. Nothing too special about it, so we'll be back with our next location in just a moment. Alright, our next stop takes us into the area that you gain access to through the King of Beggars quest. As you're advancing the Pyres of Novigrad main quest, you get to the locating the King of the Beggars hideout, and inside there is where you will find this vendor. He is rocking he's in a house with a glass door, you can see behind me, and he is rocking a monster deck. So nothing particularly earth-shattering about his deck. So we'll move on to our next one in just a sec. All right, next up, as promised, we're back in Novigrad City proper. Just outside the gate of Hierarch, there is a clothing merchant here. His name is Ziegheil, whatever his name is. Come out, speak to him, and he is rocking a Northern Realms deck. Nothing too spectacular about his deck either. And we're on to our next location in just a sec. Alright, our next stop brings us to this madam at her brothel. Her brothel is located north of Portside Gate, all the way up here. Before you play her, she has a very weak Northern Realms deck. So if you have not till this point figured out what the deal is with the random cards that you get, you can kind of farm the random cards if you're willing to sit through the loading screen each time you reload. She would be a very easy vendor to come farm for specific cards that you might be looking for. Just trying to get the randomness to fall in your favor and find cards you're after. If you're looking for some of the spies in the Nilfgaard deck, those are random cards that you get from what I understand. So she may be a good one to use to do that because she has a really weak Northern Realms deck. If your Northern Realms deck is fairly advanced by this point in the game, you should be able to just destroy her every time you play her. That's my only note on her. So you may want to hold off on playing her and come back to her. Just make a note of her and come back to her later and screw around with some of the randomness of the cards you get and see if you can pull one or one that you're really looking for. So that's my only advice about her, but there she is, and we're on to our next location in just a moment. Alright, our next stop brings us to this herbalist who is located south of Hierarch Square, just across the bridge. You're going to have to come on the other side of these houses over here. It's not on the water side. It's actually on this side that you will find the entrance to his house. And here he is, and he is rocking a Scoia'tael deck. Nothing particularly special about it. I would call it a somewhat weak Scoia'tael deck if I had to characterize it. So that's it for him, and we'll be back with our next location in just a moment. Alright, so that's it out in the city of Novigrad and the continent of Novigrad, Oxenford, all that good stuff. Hopefully that helps you track down some NPCs to play and increase your card count in your decks. Once again, keep in mind that when you play an NPC, when the card they give you is going to be random, if you don't like that card, you can always reload your game from before you played them, play them again, and you're going to get something different. So if that's how you want to kind of farm up cards and, farm up different cards, that's one way to do it. The only thing I'll say is that please look around also while you're out here. See if you run across any additional people you can play, and let me know in the comments section. I have a list that I wrote down of all the people that I ran across that I could play out here, and I seem to be missing a blacksmith. I don't know where he's at. My notes had indicated that he was somewhere like in this area here. It's not this blacksmith over here, so I don't know what the hell happened to him. I may have just been completely lost my mind at 3 o'clock in the morning and wrote down something that didn't exist. Yeah, that's about it out here. So once again, if you find anything else, please let me know because I'm totally interested. I'm sure the rest of the viewers are. Anything you have questions about, please let me know. Leave them down in the comments section. And otherwise, I really hope this helped you out. And as always, thanks for watching. Take care.